1 year of running.
1 year ago today, I made a decision. And that decision was to be a healthier person and to start to just take care of myself. I've talked many times on my podcast and in my book about the benefits of getting up early in the morning. So for a few years now, 4 or 5 years, I don't know, I've been getting up at about 5 a.m. And it was not easy to get up at 5 a.m. in the beginning. I had to slowly set the alarm 5 minutes earlier every day, every couple days until I got to 5 a.m. But the reason I did that was so that I could have time to myself to get better at something. The very first thing that I decided to do was I decided to get my architecture license. I had waited 17 years, I had procrastinated, put it off, and I decided I was going to use that 1 hour every morning, every day of the week, and sometimes on the weekend, to myself to really concentrate on getting that goal accomplished. And I did it. I became a licensed architect. So then I was already getting up at 5 a.m. and I said, okay, you know, I accomplished goal number 1. What am I going to do next? And I started actually doing a couple different things. I started to design a camping trailer for my family, and I started to write a book. And what I had decided at some point was that those two things were really competing for my time, so I decided, okay, I'm gonna finish the book. That one has a much more definite timeline. And so I did that. I got up every morning at 5 a.m. and I worked on my book. I wrote and I edited and I published my book, ARE Hacks. And so then after I published the book, I was like, what's next? And I thought about going back to the trailer project. It's a big project. I'm right in the middle of a kitchen remodel at home, so I decided to put that one off. And I decided to work on myself. There's been so many things that I've done, you know, over the last few years, between my podcast and my job and writing a book and getting my license and going on adventures. And I really decided that I needed to take care of myself. So I made that decision 1 year ago today that I was gonna start running. And I'm not making this video to compare you to me. This video is for me because what I'm really getting at here is that small incremental change day to day, what I say is getting 1% better every day, adds up, and it adds up big time. All right, so let's back up for a minute. I want to go back to the beginning a year ago when I made this decision. So why did I make this decision? Well, I was listening to a podcast by Kevin Rose. He was interviewing a guy named Ben Greenfield, and Ben Greenfield has this crazy podcast as well. It's all about health, nutrition, diet, longevity, fitness, everything. And I think what's so interesting about that podcast was how Ben had mapped out his day. And he had broken it down into like 5, 15, 30-minute increments. And so I decided I was going to do that too. And the reason I was going to do that was because I wanted to get healthy, I wanted to do more activities with my kids, and I'm really interested in longevity. So I decided to map my day out because I realized that sitting down every single day at a desk is slowly killing me, and I'd rather be outside anyways. So I wanted to come up with activities that would put me outside, put me in a better mood, get me healthier and more fit, and we just go from there and see what happens. You know, I had no idea where I would be a year, let alone a month later. So there's actually 3 main things that I changed. A lot of little tweaky stuff that I did too, but the 3 major ones that I wanted to talk about today are, number 1, I started running. Number 2, I started using a foam roller. I don't know if you've ever used a foam roller, but if you haven't, they're kind of torture until you get used to them. Now I kind of look forward to it, which is kind of funny, but if you ever use those on your legs, man, they can be pretty painful when you first start out using them. The reason I started using the foam roller was because I really needed to loosen up the muscles that were in my legs. I was having a lot of pain when I was hiking downhill, and based on what I had talked to some doctors and some friends about it was my IT bands in my legs were just super, super tight. They were pulling my kneecaps out of alignment, and they weren't allowing my joints to be correctly aligned when I was hiking downhill. And I was having some major pain. So I started to do the foam roller to try to loosen those up. And the third thing is I started saunaing. So those are my main 3 things that I really changed and tried to be consistent with And I've been pretty good about it. I mean, I've been running either 2 or 3 times a week. I've been saunaing 2 or 3 times a week. And I typically just use the foam roller right before going to the sauna. And basically, my goal was to stay consistent with all 3 of these things for as long as I possibly could. And now here I am. I'm a year in, and I'm still being consistent with it. Over time, these incremental things have added up to a big change in my life. And I think that was really the key that I wanted to talk about today. You might ask, why did I start running in the first place? And it was all because I needed to do something for myself. I'd been spending those mornings getting up at 5 a.m. to accomplish some pretty big goals. But at the same time, I wasn't staying healthy. And I didn't have any time to work out besides a little bit of climbing here and there. So I decided to start running because I can walk out my door and run. All I need is a pair of shoes. It's free. And so that's why I chose running. I chose to do something that I could do while my kids were at swimming practice or at soccer practice. So while they were there, I could come out and do this. In the beginning, I hated running. It's something I never really wanted to do. I'd rather ride a bike or go climb a rock. But those things are a lot harder to do. You gotta load your bike up on the car and go to a mountain. You gotta go find a rock to climb or go to a gym. With running, I can just go. It's easy. And seriously, easy is what I needed. So in the last year, I've run 352 miles. And if you asked me a year ago if I thought I could do that, answer emphatically would have been no. All right, so let's go back, and if we go into my app, I can look at my workout from a year ago. And we can see here that I went 2.19 miles, and it took me 44 minutes. All right, so I remember that first, it wasn't really a run. It was like a bunch of tiny increments of runs with lots of walking and resting in between. I was really out of shape. And so I have, let's see, 5 different workouts in this app before I moved to a new app because I really wanted to push the data into the Apple Health app so that it would start to track my health for the long term. So you can even see here in November, 3.54 miles in about an hour. Some of these, you know, the time wasn't that important. It was more important just to be gone and doing physical activity for that amount of time. I would take my kids and we would run through buildings and upstairs and around things and try to explore. Like I said, it wasn't really about the time at this point in my life. So end of last year and then all the way to this year, you can see that I've tracked 91 different activities since then. So consistency is the key. And now I'm running 4.12 miles. Pretty typical track. I just do this one run all the time, and it's about 9 minutes a mile, which isn't great, but it's awesome for me. My original times were probably more towards like 15 minutes a mile. Obviously there's physical fitness gains, there's all these things, but distance and time and just getting better over time, I think that is so important. And using these apps to kind of track this stuff, using the Apple Health app, using this Aura Ring, which I might talk more about in a later video, to track my sleep, to track my heart rate variability, to track my activities, things like that throughout the day, I feel like are really key. I don't over track, but I think they're really key to just, if you're not aware of what's actually going on in your body, it's a lot harder to see improvements and to make changes and adjustments over time.
there's been a couple of other side benefits as well. Number one, I get to listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks in this newfound time that I've got. So before, that was only happening during my commute on the way to work, but I've been able to like probably up that by 10 times. The other huge side benefit is that I've lost about 15 pounds. You ever notice that like everybody around you who sits in a desk just gets bigger and bigger and bigger? I didn't want that to be me. I needed that to stop being me. So since I started a year ago, I've lost about 15 pounds just running. That's all I've been doing. So it's cool. I recommend it. And I think that's really what this is about. It's about getting a little bit better every time I do it and just being habitual about it. So if I can do anything with this video, I'm hoping that it will be to inspire you to start something and keep at it, no matter how cold it is, how hot it is, how windy it is, how much you want to stay in bed, because the excuses will be there, believe me. And I really encourage you to take care of yourself. And so I think any kind of physical activity and getting outside is worthwhile. We all work at desks, we all work in the cubes, we all work indoors all the time. You gotta get outside, get that fresh air, get that morning light, get that twilight, get that dusk, get that sunrise, get that sunset. Get all those things so that you get a little bit inspired, see something different every time you go out. Be adventurous. This is what it's about. It's about living a full life and being able to do more. The only way you're going to be able to do more is if you take care of yourself. All right, so the last thing that I'm going to do to finish this video off is introduce you to a couple of my friends. And they're right here. They're my Nikes. And the reason I wanted to introduce you to my Nikes is because I love putting these shoes on. And I feel like, you know, there's something to the gear that you have to accomplish whatever the thing is that you're doing. You've got to kind of like it. I think if you don't like it, you're not going to want to put those things on. And there's definitely something to it when you're getting up at 5 in the morning to go run and it's dark out and it's cold outside. You've got to be a little bit comfortable so that you can build up over time. And I kind of lay that stuff out the night before so that I don't even have to think about it that next morning, because if I have to think about finding it in the dark, I'm a lot less likely to do it. So I will set it all out the night before so that all I have to do is slip it on and not even think. Like there's a key component, is not thinking about it really helps you do it every single day and build consistency over time. So now these shoes, and these aren't the shoes I've always run with, because this is my second pair of running shoes that I've been through in this year. But I think they've got to become your friends, these different pieces of gear that you rely on. And for running, like, this is all you need. All you need is a pair of shoes to go running. So I'm excited to put these shoes on and go for a run tomorrow morning and just keep on running. That's really what this is about. I want to see where this takes me. I have no idea where I'm going to be in another year. So I'm excited to find out. Anyway, I hope that this inspires you to try something as well. It doesn't have to be running, it could be whatever you want, but do something to take yourself to the next level. Get 1% better every day. And in a year, you're gonna be a lot better. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.